Well, long nights turn into long days, turn into even longer nights. Here we are back again with another episode of Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Oh boy, last night was a rough one. Well, it's probably been a rough one for a couple of nights, but last night in particular was just a nice menagerie of things happening all at once. Basically, she got through her first initial step of sleep. She got from about 9 to 12:30, and then it was about every half hour, just as my eyes would start to droop and I'd finally be able to go fuss bus, riding that fuss bus little by little, all until about 3:30 in the morning, and I'm just had no sleep again. And finally, all right, I'll give her some food. I swaddle her really tightly and put her back down. The second her head hits the pillow, the hiccups. She had a wonderful case of that which vexes all humans, the hiccups. And with a newborn and in the hospital, I remember her having some really bad hiccups. It's not just like, oh, she has the hiccups. I feel like, at least the first few times, and sometimes still, I feel like her world is about to end. It's so distressing to see her whole body convulse, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's just watching her be uncomfortable and in pain, and of course, when she's overtired doing this, it causes her to cry, which is just a little bit of a mix of adorable and terrifying because she's doing these cute little baby hiccups. But all you can do is sit there and watch in abject horror as your child goes through something that you have virtually no control over whatsoever. And it's just another one of those things where you're just like, why would this happen to such an adorable, tiny little baby creature? One thing, and it's the weirdest fucking thing, it's voodoo witch doctor magic, I'll tell you this right now. My wife got this gripe water stuff. It's basically salt water. I read the ingredients. It's nothing special. And what happens is you take a little eyedropper of this shit and you slowly feed it to your kid, and it magically, I would say 3 out of 4 times, takes away the hiccups. Now, there's no adult cure for the hiccups. There's no magic cure for when a guy's drank too much or ate too much and he just starts uncontrollably hiccuping. There's things I've read on the internet like spit on a rock and flip it over with your foot. Scaring people is a very common one. Drinking water upside down, I never can quite understand if that's upside down your whole body or the glass of water is upside down, in which case I don't know how you... Anyway, it's this magical voodoo hiccup cure for babies that somehow, maybe when you're old enough to realize that it's just salt water, the magic is gone and Tinkerbell fades away. I don't know, but that basically is how I see that magical nonsense. But yes, hiccups have been plaguing my daughter since birth, and they're like, oh yeah, they go away all the time, except for the times they don't, in which case we still can't do anything. I don't know, they weren't very helpful at the hospital, but this magical gripe water stuff, I will tell you, for sure, get it, as long as it works, as long as something can take away the stress of watching your kid having hiccups. It's really disturbing. If you have never seen it, you don't want to. It's just sad because this tiny little baby, adorable thing is just going through it, having the motions. Anyway, that was my rough night hiccup story. On a positive note, my beautiful daughter, Penelope Grace Howes, is looking at things. She's seeing things. She's not just looking towards whatever direction she's put in. She can see me. She follows me around with her gorgeous blue eyes. They're a little bit of blue-gray. And now every infant is born with blue eyes, and they eventually hit whatever their eye color is going to be for the rest of their lives. But we're hoping they stay this wonderful color because it's just so deep, this dark blue. But watching her look at things, I was walking her around the apartment, and it was just magical seeing her actually see things for the first time, or what felt like the first time for me. It's all I can do to watch her slowly. It's crazy how quickly they develop. Like, it's not even been 4 weeks is tomorrow, for her. And it's just like, wow. And now she's looking like she has her eyes open all the time. And it just makes my heart happy to see that she's just growing and developing. I'm loving it. But, one thing I actually wanted to bring up, it's been a lifesaver, and I am in no way paid or sponsored by Amazon, but we'll take it. If you're handing it out, we'll take it. But I invested in those Hue lights, and I have all kinds of Alexa devices throughout my house, and the ability to turn the lights on and off just by saying it, especially in the middle of the night when I'm getting up to change diapers, to go from the bedroom to the nursery, and I just got, shit diapers and piss diapers coming out of my ears, and I need to do it quickly and without massive amounts of frustration. I don't have to put her down to turn the lights on. I just give it a holler, and on they go. Down they go. I can dim them. We have some living room lights for the animals that we leave on all night. They're at a very dim, so they're not in the complete darkness. Well, the cat anyways. The dog will never, ever not sleep in our bed, much to my chagrin. But moving on from there. These voice-activated lights have been a lifesaver. And I would highly recommend anyone who's got some disposable income, which with children I know there is very little disposable income, but get these things. I have them in every possible light in my home that will allow one. So just the ability to be able to be like, hey, turn on this light, turn on that. And then, when you're leaving the house, you got a handful of a baby, some backpacks, and you're trying to get out of there, and you can just be like, oh, turn off all the lights here. All that fun stuff. Just, it definitely helps. I'll say that. It has been a long day, but one of the things I wanted to get to is I mentioned I'd get back to a little bit about our hospital story. So I guess I'll go into kind of how we didn't really have a birthing plan for Penny. We just, the plan was go to the hospital and let them do what they will, and we'll figure it out from there. So, well, I guess I'll call this section is going to be the curling iron principle. And what that is we didn't expect to be really giving birth or being inducted when we were. My wife was very uncomfortable, so we went to the hospital, and they hooked her up to machines, and they were sitting there and hydrating her, and then the nurse comes back and says, hey, you know what? The doctor said, hey, if you want to have this baby now, we can just induct you. So, we can get that started if you want to. So, of course, we've been going around for 41 weeks. We were late at this point, and so we jumped at the chance to get Penny to join us in this world, my lovely, beautiful daughter that she is. And so they gave her some meds that are supposed to begin induction, and so began our 38-hour labor to C-section story, which I'm not going to maybe go into the entire thing, but I'll hit bits and pieces. Like I said, we did not have a birthing plan. Didn't have a playlist. We didn't have this. We did have bags packed. And I remember we were leaving the house, and the one thing my wife was like, get that curling iron when you come home, oh, we'll get it. I don't think we're going to need it today. And so, I guess I was wrong about that, because we did end up getting admitted to the hospital that night, but she didn't give birth then. So we waited, she was in a fair amount of discomfort. They gave her some good meds. They eventually did this thing where they had to inflate a balloon. I forget what they called it, but they had to inflate a balloon up there, if you know what I mean. And I had to do this to pop some part of the amniotic fluid sac, or to expand the cervix, or, and this is, again, I don't have these things, so I don't know what they were doing, but it was what looked to be one of the most incredibly painful experiences my wife had to go through And little did I know that was probably one of the least ones of the day that she had to go through. But she was a trooper. She did a whole well. But the whole time she kept saying to me, "Get that curling iron when you go home." And so the first day I went home, I had to go home to feed the cat. I was at the hospital. We were both at the hospital for about a week. And I only went home. I got breakfast in the morning. I would go to Dunkin' Donuts. So it was almost like this baby was brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. So I would go home, feed the cat, hang out with the cat for a little bit, get some breakfast, go back. I bought donuts for all the staff there because, I was like, hell, I'm about to be dead. I'll have all the fucking donuts you want. Go for it. But, I didn't get the curling iron this time. I went back a couple times, didn't get the curling. Finally, I'm like, oh, I'll make a point. I grabbed my backpack because I planned on robbing the hospital blind anyways. And again, a point of notice for all you guys out there, they are going to give you diapers, wipes, aspirators, pacifiers if you can twist their arm into giving them to you. Everything they put in that little bassinet that your kid gets in while you're in the hospital, take it all. Do not leave them with, they'll give you swaddles, all right? Don't spend $20, $30 on these swaddles. We still use the two that we managed to pilfer from the hospital. They're very, very useful, and they're clearly just sheets cut up. But yeah, so anyways, I grabbed my backpack so that I could rob this place blind, and I put the curling iron in. I was so happy, she has, at this point she had the baby. So rolling back a little bit, she did that balloon thing, and then the labor got worse and worse. They did an epidural, and it was, again, all I could do to watch her in this pain. There's nothing you can do. And sorry, guys, there's literally nothing you can do, unfortunately. I mean, holding hands is fine. Hugging, whatever, and they don't, at least with my wife, they don't want to be coddled at this point. They're in so much pain, there's nothing you can do, and being there is great, but it's not how, just try to stay out of the way and just be available. Make sure that you're available if they need you to do something, but stay kind of out of their way while they're just suffering through the motions of labor. And this is not for general C-sections. They were attempting a natural birth with the induction. It did not work. She got to about 9 centimeters. What they had said was that the epidural, she was not getting pain relief. And 38 hours, she thought she was going to die, literally, with the amount of pain she was in. So they finally came up and they were like, well, I guess you qualify for a C-section at this point. And I'm like, yay, my insurance needs you to say those words, but my wife needed you to say those words about 38 hours ago. And so, as I said before, they cut her open, and the baby held my hand, and the rest is history. Now, the curling iron principle I was speaking about was that this is all she was obsessed about. Even when she was in a massive amount of pain throughout the labor, the curling iron was like, I need to look my best, and I need to get this curling iron, and curling. So finally get this thing in there. They tell us we can go home. It was all for the last day, and we didn't use the goddamn thing once. So, in regards to birthing plans, I refer you to the curling iron principle. It's that the things that you think that you need the most are generally things that you can probably do without, or you won't even realize that you have once you have gotten past the birthing process, if you plan on staying at the hospital, I guess. What's the saying? A man plans and the universe laughs. Don't expect every little thing to go off without a hitch. The fact of the matter is, even with modern science, labor is incredibly difficult for some people and incredibly easy for others. You could pack for a 6 to 7 day hospital stay and be out. I knew someone who was out within the day they had birth, and then you could pack for the night, or you could go to the hospital thinking that you really you're not even going to go have your kid that day, and then you could be there for a goddamn week like my wife and I were. But the end result is the same. You have this wonderfully adorable child that you created staring at you, and you'll realize that your birth plan never really meant a goddamn thing in the first place, because now the real show begins. You're in the pre-game. Now we're in the fucking Super Bowl. You got your daughter, your son, and it's just you. They don't tell you that once you leave the hospital, it's just you. One of the funny things was I think we did have the opportunity to stay an extra day at the hospital, and we decided to go home, but it's like once you leave the hospital, you don't have a massive group of nurses who are available to help and answer all your questions and do everything for you. It's right back down to mom and dad. So my suggestion is, if and while you're still at the hospital, try to get as many things done on your own as possible. Some of the things that people told me beforehand were, oh, make sure that, let the nurses do it, let the nurses change the diaper, let the nurses do this. Absolutely hell no. I'm like, let them show you how to do it. Make sure that you do it yourself, because you are not going to have them to do it when you get home. So you might as well start learning. And if you're anything like me, I did take the one class that they barely fucking showed you how to do anything. I guess I could have taken more classes, so that kind of does fall on me. But there's no class that prepares you for actually being a parent. So you can learn what other people think is the best thing to do. You could listen to me like I know something about it. But really, in the end, it's going to be all about what you decide to do. And dads out there, I'm back at work now. It's Sunday, so we're playing it's my last day here before I have to go back to work again. But it's okay to go back to work. If your wife has maternity leave a lot longer than you, that's usually the way it works. Not everybody gets to share a full amount of paid family leave together. For instance, my company, which makes a shit ton of money, so this makes no goddamn sense, but my company barely pays half my paycheck for paternity leave. So it was a choice of, do you want to not have any money for your new kid, or do you want to go back to work? And it was a no-brainer. I had to go back to work after a week, but that's just the way it is sometimes. Some companies are better than others. I do love my company, but their paternity leave really shit the bed, I'll say. So, you really got to look into what your benefits are when things like that happen, but it's not the end of the world if you have to go back to work. Don't forget, you're living in a bubble. If you're both working parents, once that paid family leave time is over, you're both going back to work or whatever you have to do, and you're going to have to live in that world anyways. So just remember, it's just getting back into a routine and figuring out what works for you the best. Definitely, if I can give you any advice whatsoever, is do as much shit as you can at the hospital so that you have someone to tell you if you're doing it wrong. And you are for sure doing it wrong. I thought I was good at swaddling. I don't think I hit my swaddle peak till I got home. Now I'm a swaddle master. I'll teach you all how to swaddle. I mean, I don't do videos right now, so I won't actually teach you all how to swaddle, but, figure it out. It's really fucking useful, actually. It's one of the few things that can quell a colicky baby, and it helps my kids sleep pretty well at nighttime. I will suggest I think what my wife and I are doing is don't swaddle unless it's bedtime, so that you can get that routine going. But another thing is, people can tell you, here's what you should do when, but really the first month is just, they're gonna eat, sleep, and shit on their own time, and that's how it's gonna be. So don't feel like you're falling behind or you're not doing enough, or, where should we be? That's pretty much it. Once they start getting to where, like, my daughter now is recognizing things, following things with her eyes, that's when a real brain developmental leap is happening, as I told last time. So now is when we can start trying to set it, but still, we're probably months away from actual, sleep training. She still sleeps in the bassinet next to us right now anyways, so go on your own schedule. Just enjoy the time you have while you can. Moving on, this is the second episode of Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. That's us. I've gotten actually a bunch of comments so far. It's doing pretty well, having only been around for a couple of days. And like I said, I plan on doing episodes very frequently if I can. Again, not a whole lot of downtime here at the old Casa del House, but we're doing the best we can. A couple people were commenting about the theme music. I made that in GarageBand in about 15 minutes. I am not by any means a whiz at GarageBand, but I did see the words 80s synth and I couldn't help myself but try and figure it out. So for those of you who enjoy it, that's me. For those of you who want me to do it for you, I probably can't. I don't think I can replicate my work on that one, but I'm glad that you enjoy it. So far, we'll probably keep it around for a while, but I definitely appreciate the people who have been liking, commenting, sharing. It really gets the steam going. I think we have something here. It's a good resource. Let's try and get as many dads out there to come around. I do plan, I have the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are all at Shits and Gigs 42. We are working on a website. I'm working on a website. I don't know when that's going to be out, but we have the email shitsandgigs42@gmail.com. I'm happy to receive feedback on anything, I'm happy to hear your stories. I do plan on having other people on this podcast at some point, so if you're local, hit me up. But I digress. I must go to bed, recharge the old batteries, get some Z's, what little my daughter will allow me to do anyway, and get ready and try and get some more content out for you on the regular. I'll leave you with this: my kid is better than yours, and vaccinate your kids or keep them away from mine. I'm Matt Howes, and this has been Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads.